Queen Vortessa was not accustomed to failure. Her empire spanned 7-star systems. Her military strategies were legendary. Her economic policies had transformed entire civilizations. So when her twin daughters, Keela and Vex, failed their quantum mathematics exam for the third consecutive time, she was at a loss. "They are deficient," the royal tutor declared, bowing deeply. "Their minds lack the necessary dimensional reasoning. I recommend alternative educational tracks, perhaps history or philosophy." The queen's mandibles clicked with frustration. Her daughters were brilliant in every other subject. This wasn't stupidity. This was something else. She summoned the palace teaching council and demanded answers. They had none. She consulted educational specialists from across the empire. They offered only pessimism. By the time she gave up and returned to her administrative duties, Keela and Vex had internalized the message. They simply couldn't do math. It was Miguel Santos who noticed them crying in the palace corridor. The human janitor was emptying waste bins when he found the twin aliens huddled near the library, their bioluminescent skin flickering with what he'd learned to recognize as distress. Without overthinking it, he sat down beside them. "Bad day?" he asked gently. "We're stupid," Vex said flatly. "We failed another test," Keela added. "We failed every test. We're just broken at math." Miguel, who worked nights cleaning the palace so he could spend days raising his 7-year-old daughter, recognized something in their despair. He'd seen it in his own daughter when she'd started struggling with reading. "Can I tell you something?" Miguel said. "When my daughter was little, everyone said she had dyslexia, said her brain was wired wrong for reading. Teachers kept putting her in remedial classes. You know what I found out?" The twins looked up. She didn't need remedial classes. She needed someone to teach her in a way her brain actually worked. Miguel stood up. "What if I tried teaching you math? Not the way your tutors do it. A different way." He didn't ask permission from the queen. Didn't go through official channels. He simply showed up the next evening with his daughter's old notebooks and a handful of physical objects from the maintenance closet. He had them use screws and bolts to understand fractions. He had them measure the palace hallways to understand ratios and proportions. He had them count the pattern of tiles on the floor and derive simple algebraic relationships from the sequences. "Math isn't just numbers on paper," Miguel explained, crouching beside them as they worked. "Math is how the universe works. You already understand patterns, right? You notice when things are balanced or unbalanced." "Yes," Keela said slowly. "That's math. You just weren't calling it that." Over the next 3 weeks, Miguel worked with them every evening. He was patient in a way the royal tutors weren't. He didn't assume their intelligence was lacking. He assumed his teaching method was. He celebrated small victories. He never made them feel rushed or stupid. He talked about his own struggles in school, about how he'd hated geometry until a teacher drew it on the ground and let him walk the shapes, about how numbers had felt abstract until he started applying them to real problems, calculating material costs, figuring out construction angles, understanding how machines actually worked. "Your brain works differently," he told them. "That doesn't mean it works worse. It means you need different tools, different teachers." When the next quantum mathematics exam came, Keela and Vex passed. Not just passed, they scored in the top percentile. Queen Vortessa summoned Miguel immediately, and he was certain he was about to be reprimanded for overstepping. Instead, the queen simply asked, "How did you do this?" "I taught the way my daughter learns," Miguel said simply. "Not the way the textbooks say to teach. The way it actually works." The queen was quiet for a moment. "You have one daughter of your own, yes? Raised her alone?" "Yes, your majesty. After her mother passed." "Then you understand something many educated people do not." Vortessa gestured toward the corridor, where Keela and Vex were excitedly discussing differential equations. "You understand that intelligence isn't one single measure. You understand that different doesn't mean defective." She paused. "I'm offering you a position. Head of the Royal Academy's Alternative Learning Division. Full salary, benefits, authority to restructure how we teach struggling students." Miguel's first instinct was to refuse. He had his regular job, his routines, his life figured out. But he thought of all the students like Keela and Vex, brilliant minds trapped in systems designed for different kinds of brains. "I like that," he said. "But I'm keeping the janitor position too. Sometimes you learn things about how institutions actually work when you're the person cleaning them. Might be useful for fixing the education system." The Queen smiled, an expression rare on her face. "You think like a true reformer, Miguel Santos. Welcome to the palace, officially." That evening, as Miguel helped his daughter with her homework, Keela and Vex joined them at the table, asking for help with their next assignment. In that moment, surrounded by alien and human students all working together, Miguel understood. Education wasn't about forcing minds into molds. It was about finding the shape each mind already had and building from there. Sometimes it took a single dad janitor to remind an empire of that truth.